Let's go ahead and check out example 1 here, where it's talking about the general equation of a conic. So you can see this really crazy equation right here with a, b, c, d, e, all the way to f. What you have to know is that we are going to be talking about the general form of a conic. And you're going to need to be able to identify what the conic section is just by looking at the general equation. Now you already know the equation characteristics for each of the 4 conic sections, which is what you're going to be looking for in the general equation. So a circle has 2 squared variables, and there is addition between the squared variables. So the coefficients of those squared terms are going to always be positive. And then finally, the coefficients are the same. Okay, so the same x squared and y squared coefficients. That's similar to an ellipse where we have 2 squared variables. We also have addition for an ellipse, but now the coefficients are going to be different for x squared and y squared. A parabola is pretty simple to recognize, and that just has 1 squared variable. That's all you need to look for, is just 1 squared variable. And then finally, a hyperbola will also have 2 squared variables, 2 squared terms. But the difference between a circle, an ellipse, and a hyperbola is that there is subtraction. One of the coefficients, either x squared or y squared, is going to have a negative coefficient. Alright, so let's go ahead and identify the conic section, and then we're going to write it in standard conic form. And standard conic form is what we recognize as the graphing form, so we can identify where the center is and all of our important information. So I'm going to immediately be able to identify that this is a parabola, and I know that this is a parabola because it only has 1 squared variable. So what I want to do is I want to remember what the formula for a parabola is. Now first, recognize that it's a y squared, so I'm going to use my y squared equation, which is y minus k squared equals 4p times x minus h. So essentially, what I want to do is make this general equation look like my standard conic form. So what I need to do is get my y terms together, and I'm going to go ahead and move over my 2x and my 6 to the other side. So I can have y squared minus 4y equals 2x minus 6. So what I've done here is I've got my y's on one side and my x's on the other side, and I need to do that from my general formula. Now what we're going to do is we're going to flash back to chapter 1, and we are going to use completing the square. What we have to do is we have to get some binomial squared to represent this y minus k squared. So I am going to do y squared minus 4y plus the square plus the box equals 2x minus 6 plus the box. So remember, whatever you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to the other, which is why we're adding a box on each side. Now remember, what goes in the box? How do you find that? That is going to be b divided by 2 squared. So my b value here is negative 4. So negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2. Square that, positive 4. You're going to put the same number in each box on each side of your equation, leaving that to be balanced. Now we'll go ahead and factor this to become y minus 2 squared. We have a subtraction sign because of the subtraction sign in our problem, and really you're thinking about the numbers that multiply to be a positive 4 and add up to be a negative 4, and that's where the negative 2 is coming from. I know I told you guys back in the beginning of the year, the number that goes in your parentheses is just b divided by 2. So b divided by 2, 4 divided by 2 is 2, and then you take the sign from your problem. Over here, clean up this side, 2x, negative 6, and positive 4 is going to be minus 2. We're so close to this looking like our general form, we just got to get x to have a coefficient of 1. So we're going to take out the GCF between the 2x and minus 2, and we're going to go ahead and write y minus 2 squared equals 2 times x minus 1. So now if we asked you to graph that, you would be able to find the vertex and p-value and everything.